Hello my bunny besties. If you're new here, my name is Bunby. Welcome, and if you are returning, hi, how are you? It is so nice to see you again. Today is the day long awaited. We are officially diving into the entrance speed build for our newest autumn island, Oak Hollow, which is a nostalgic suburban city core Halloween themed island. What a mouthful. But if you're excited to finally jump into the speed builds, be sure to leave a like on the video as well as subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified of all of our upcoming Oak Hollow builds. But without further ado, let's go. To start things off for the build, we have little Anchovy here gracing us with his presence, cleansing this space of bad energy with his little Naruto run, which I very much appreciate. He's kind of like a little guardian protecting me from all of the curses that can come with Animal Crossing, like the dreaded burnout curse, which I will say after my hiatus, I am definitely slow to return to my usual groove of designing in game. This build took me a lot of trial and error, so I hope that you enjoy how it turns out. I will say that things may change in the future because this entrance ended up being huge. This honestly feels like 3 builds in one, but the main thing that could change is the introduction of a different road code. As always, I'm starting the build by just mapping out the areas that I want the pathing to go, which I feel like is the most important part of working on a more structured city core island. If you're someone who wants to try a city core theme but doesn't really know where to start, I recommend always laying out your pathing before putting any items or foliage down, just to make sure that the roadways that you're creating have somewhat of an understandable path. I always try to leave room for things like benches and streetlights, and as you can see here, I have some random empty open spots because I know that I want to try and fit some trees in here somewhere. This one I'm using for a smaller tree, so I have a sapling to help stunt the growth of this large young hardwood, and then I'm pairing it with a regular sized hardwood just for some height variation, which I feel like looks really good. But yeah, this entrance feels very similar to the entrance of Pottsfield in a lot of ways, and if this is your first video here on the channel, be sure to check out my playlist for my previous Autumn Island Pottsfield. But yeah, when doing a city core theme, I feel like it's pretty hard to come up with unique entrances for the island itself. I contemplated making this entrance a pumpkin patch or starting immediately with one of the suburbs that I want to make on the island, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I say that this entrance may change. I like a lot about how this entrance turned out, but like I said, it's very similar to Pottsfield, and maybe it's just the after effects of my burnout trying to weasel their way back in and make me feel like this entrance isn't very good, I don't know. But be sure to let me know in the comments what you think of this build. I tried to go through and layer it with some different items and not clutter it up too much since this is technically a smaller like entrance pathway. I just used a garden bench and a spooky lantern, and then on the other side I had paired it with a drinking fountain and a small little campfire because I like how it looks having these smaller leaf pile there instead of the bigger ones. But now we're moving on to these side areas that you can see I'm framing out here with some hedges, and I thought that it kind of made sense to go through and build out these little forests on either side because with the decorative pillars and the fences, I was like, okay, if there's supposed to be a wall here, clearly it's separating the path from something, so I decided that it made sense to kind of build out some natural areas just to help with the texture that we have going on here and to kind of explain why there's a wall randomly. And I thought about putting a parking lot over on this side here because we do have some beach access, but I think that the forests make this area feel just a bit more lived in, a bit more natural, and I really like that design. I'm going through right now and layering 2 levels of sidewalk here because I really want to make sure I can go through and include spacing for those decorative items like I mentioned earlier, the garden benches and things like that I'm using as the street benches. And then as well, this secondary sidewalk block that I have here is going to be used for some iron and stone fencing to just kind of make sure that there's a very set path that you can traverse in this area, because like I said, I feel like that's really important for going through and making a city core island. You should always have a path that is clearly laid out and easily traversable. So we're moving on now to the side area and filling in these little natural spots. I feel like even on a city core island, it could be like skyscraper city core, and I'm still gonna try and include as many natural bits as I can because I feel like it really helps with the texture and just making the whole area feel lived in. Once again, this island is supposed to be kind of a small town vibe, not small town in the sense of like there's not a lot going on, but more so like small town northeast. So it's probably the same families that live there, but it's established because it's been around for many decades, possibly even a couple centuries, who knows. But yeah, I'm going through and just trying to fill out these natural areas off to the side here and doing a collection of trees. The trees will be shuffled around as we start to add other pieces because I am going to use a mixture of decayed trees as well as the evergreen ashes, because I do want some pops of green to be on this island. I think that's another area where I'm struggling with the identity crisis that I'm having for Oak Hollow, because I want it to be bright and colorful, but I still want it to feel like autumn. And I've chosen a set of, I guess, kind of primary-ish colors. The island is supposed to be oranges, greens, and yellows, which I feel like can come across as very like kidcore primary, so I'm trying to find the more like grown-up autumn versions of that. So the hedges here being green, I really like how those look. I like that shade of green, but I also like these pops of really bright red that I'm getting from like these red mums right here. And then the pops of green from the evergreen ash I feel like is really just helping to kind of like breathe some fresh air into these areas, because this is supposed to be an early October type of island, so I feel like the kind of like more brown themes that we had going on in our previous autumn island don't necessarily fit on Oak Hollow. And like I said, that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm having a bit of an identity crisis for this island, because it feels almost too much like Pottsfield. It feels very old world, and I'm trying to make it feel a bit more suburban. I have a lot of islands that I'm trying to take inspiration from, and I really like them, but I just feel like they're not Oak Hollow. You know, like I'm trying to make this island its own, but it's hard because it's like I don't want it to be too colorful, but I also don't want it to just be neutral colors that everyone sees in the fall time. So once again, I'm kind of in a weird spot with this entrance, and it might change, so possibly expect a second entrance build, who knows. But another big reason that it may change is because, good lord, I have been struggling with pathing and code shopping for this island. Once again, I need to find Anchovy and have him work his magic to get these Animal Crossing curses to leave me alone, because I feel like every step of this island has been against me. Not only did it take over an hour of re-rolling for a layout to get this specific one on stream, but we also had like 6 consecutive lime green airports, and in the end, my airport still ended up being the wrong color. Like, I'll take yellow, yellow's fine, but I really wanted an orange one. And then on top of that, hunting for the right design codes has been a disaster as well. I absolutely love the codes that are made by Colin Crossing, and so many people have recommended that I use his road code, and I thought that the brighter theme of his road would fit into the more like kidcore childhood side of this island, but after placing everything down, the autumn road code just wasn't the right colorway for Oak Hollow. With autumn islands, I'm always drawn to those darker, warmer codes, and I just still wanted something that looked very suburban, and the yellow leaves on his autumn code were just a little too bright for me personally. But then I saw these photos floating around on Pinterest that were actually posted by a previous partner of mine on Instagram, but she seems to have deleted her accounts online and disappeared altogether. I can't find her. So I was literally head over heels for this road that she was using on her island Auburn, but nowhere could I find the code. It literally did not exist anywhere. It wasn't on Pinterest. I hunted through Instagram. I even resorted to making a story post begging for any information, like this road code was some missing pet and I was desperately trying to find it. Like, I was legit about to post some $10,000 reward to the first person who could find me this code. And then I scoured Instagram enough to come across the creator, which is 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 Crossing over on Insta, but I was unable to get in contact with her, and the next thing I know, I am on a time crunch to get this entrance built and put up onto the channel because so many people have been asking when we're gonna get into Oak Hollow. So I just caved and went with the road code that I'm currently using in this video, which I really do like. There is just so many little things that like I'm so particular. I have some very particular tastes. So in my head I'm like, I wish that this had a diagonal sidewalk piece. I wish that it had road median lines, because I've never done a citycore island that has a road that actually has like road lines to separate the lanes. It sounds so ridiculous, but I was like, I want that. I need that. And then, like a ray of sunlight parting through a storm, one of our bunny besties here on the channel, one of you, messaged me the creator code. And when I say that I was in tears, I literally mean that I was in actual tears, that I was crying. And I just want to say thank you, Rain, for sending me the code. I appreciate you so much. and I will definitely be updating this entrance to have the code in the future, but I still thought, hey, even if this isn't the final design for 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎's entrance, it's still a cool build that I'm really proud of, and I wanted to share with you in case it helps inspire you for a build on your island. But yeah, I don't know, I've talked a lot on the channel about how I'm a perfectionist, so it does give me a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of discomfort to post a video of a build that might change, because in my head I only, you know, I want to post the final product, and this isn't the final product. So I don't know, it just has me feeling a little bit weird. I mentioned earlier, I feel like this island is having a little bit of an identity crisis in my head, because unlike my previous islands of 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎 and 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎, I can't seem to bring across the idea that I have in my head. I get that it's just the entrance, so maybe I'm just being a little bit hard on myself, but it's coming across as different than what I had originally envisioned. This build feels very citycore, which is great, but it also feels very dark academia. It almost feels trashcore in a way. I don't know. I can't quite pin it, but something about it just, there's something about it, you know what I mean? And yeah, I feel like I'm missing some whimsy, I'm missing some suburban flair. Like I said, this island is supposed to be what Halloween feels like when you're a kid, and maybe it's just because I haven't gotten to those parts yet, but I'm like, something about this ain't right. I don't know. But like I said, I could just be hard on myself, and you're probably sitting here going, 𝒷𝓊𝓃, what the heck? Just focus on the build. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes when designing, I feel like things fall so easily into place, and then other times it's a bit of a struggle, and I just always want to be open about my design process and my thought process going into these types of builds, because I don't know, maybe these feelings that I'm having are ones that you're having, and if you're sitting here looking at this build going, girl, what are you talking about? This is incredible, but you are feeling negatively about a space on your island, who knows? Maybe it is beautiful and you just aren't aware of it because you're like me and you can't see past the veneer of anxiety that is constantly in your brain. But of course, rambling aside, wouldn't be a 𝒷𝓊𝓃 video if I wasn't rambling like crazy. We are just going through and putting down the actual road code. So like I said, this is the code that I'm going to be using in this video. It might change in the future, but yeah, this road is so cool. I do like how it comes with a leaf code and it comes with a cracked design, which I think is really cool because it helps give some variation. I just wish that it had the median lines. If it had median lines, it would be perfect. It would be everything that I'm looking for, because it's like the perfect shade of just like warm gray instead of like super bright gray or cool toned or dark. Like, it is perfect, and I do really like the leaf designs. I just feel like I can't get the leaves to match any of the leaf piles in game. I feel like noticing and focusing on little details like that makes me sound kind of crazy, but hey, I am all about the attention to detail, you know? Let's take a negative trait and turn it positive. But as we're filling out this area, you'll see that I'm placing down 2 different types of sidewalk pathing, and that's because, like I said, this road code does not have a diagonal sidewalk path. The diagonal for some reason is only this terracotta tile, which is definitely nice. I do like this code. I think it's really cute, but may also be contributing to why I feel like this build hasn't come together in the way that I was hoping it would. Mixing these 2 mediums gives it this very, like, I don't know, like European feel, because in my experience of living in America my whole life, we love concrete, we love asphalt, and the only time you will ever see brick or cobblestones is usually in a more like posh part of town where rich people live, a little like city walk that has boutiques and things like that, or in an old city like I'm talking founding fathers type of old. And while that is definitely a cute small town vibe, I feel like having the regular concrete sidewalk tiles would definitely help make it feel more suburban. But focusing on the actual pathing that we have going on here, first of all, have to give the celebrity introduction to Mr. Harv hanging out here. I feel like he fits on the island so well. I haven't talked to him yet for Harvey's Island because I just like seeing him walking around. I think it'd be really cute to take some pictures of him, especially in front of some of the future builds that I have planned. But yeah, I definitely do need to use his island because I need to get some things customized. But yeah, for the pathing itself, I decided to try and like fill out this little area off to the side here with the terracotta tiles because I wanted to try and like build a little vignette in that corner, if that makes sense. Like, I want to have something cute going on there. So I gave myself enough room to try and like build some stuff out. I'm going through and trying to make some dynamic pathing because I don't know, I didn't want all of the roads in this island to just be like straight lines. I wanted diagonals. I want like cool types of road designs, And so I like the idea of having this diagonal going here, especially because it's lined up perfectly with the roadway that I'm going to be building in front of resident services. So I tried to kind of think ahead a little bit when I was building out this road, so that way there wouldn't be too many twists and turns. But honestly, I have no clue what I'm going to be doing on this island. I feel like with citycore, some people think that you have to plan out every single corner of the island because you're going to be using roads, so you need to map out the roads. Nope. I just be flying by the seat of my pants. I just do whatever feels right in the moment and hope that it works out. And if it doesn't, then I spend hours just, you know, picking up pathing and replacing it down. But this was definitely one of those builds where I spent a lot of time trying to brainstorm the roadways and messing things up and going through and having to place everything down again. You will see that happen a little bit later. I do take this whole roadway and shift it one tile over, so that I don't include, but I will let you know when that does happen. But as you can see here, I'm just building out a little side area so people can hang out, take a break, sit down by the beach, and just hang out. I think it's really cute. I do like having the curved little street lights as well. I chose that option because I feel like it's the closest one to like the actual types of streetlights that you see in a suburb. I don't think we have like a perfect one-for-one recreation of like real life streetlights, so that works for me. But now I'm going through and we're building out our first faux building here. So I knew that I wanted to try and put some buildings here just to like really fill the space, and I didn't want to do any villager homes just yet because the main focus of this entire area is actually a bus stop. That's the only reason that I did this entrance the way that I did, is because I saw so many cool designs of bus stops and like bus stations at the entrance of a town, which makes sense because we have the airport, so it also makes sense to have a bus that can take you to the airport, you know what I mean? So I decided that some homes or some fake buildings here would make sense instead of like an actual villager home, because I'd like to save those maybe. But this could also once again be leading to the reason why I feel so weird about this entrance, because these builds they're almost like brownstone New York style buildings, if I had to like try and give them a name. Once again, they feel very dark academia, and I don't know if they necessarily fit the suburban vibe. I just feel like the multiple stories of building that we have here doesn't really make too much sense. So this is like a little, I'm gonna put a little bit of a pin in this because I really like how these homes came out, or shops or whatever you want to call them. I'm really not sure what this building is supposed to be. It's just a building, but I do like the way that they turned out. I struggled a little bit with dimension here. As you can see, I placed down a curtain, but then I traded that out, and I'm just trying to like build out almost like a front yard area here. I set up this little lawn chair out here because I like the idea of this person like sitting out in their like, I don't want to say front patio because it's like literally right on the road, but they have a little like candy bowl here for kids to come trick-or-treating, because this is supposed to be a more kidcore Halloween type of island. And so like I like those little features. I just feel like I need to take those and put them in a build that makes a bit more sense. Maybe we can go through and replace that building with an actual villager house and maybe give them like a driveway or something. It just feels a little weird to put someone like right next to the bus stop. But I did go through here. As you can see, we're going to take a little walk through. I moved everything one tile over because I wanted to give myself some extra space for some more foliage and things like that. And I like how this road juts up to the beach a bit more. I feel like it makes a bit more sense because it's what I was trying to do with this roadway. But now we can go through here, and these little blank spots right here, I am going to put some trees down just once again to try and like soften up the landscape a little bit. I am layering some different types, so we have some trees and some bushes. And I do wish that we could put these on top of the pathways. I know that used to be a glitch very early on in Animal Crossing, and I miss it because I feel like it would make everything look a bit cleaner, but you know, it is what it is. It doesn't look too bad. I tried to cover up the seams with that lantern set, as you can see, but here we have this cute little bus stop area. I tried to layer multiple retro transportation stops because I thought that it could like kind of bulk out the bus stop a little bit, make it look a little bit more substantial. Someone has some packed bags there. Maybe Rover is coming to visit, and that's his little suitcase that he's going to be using to travel home with. And once again, I'm trying to layer in some greenery just because there is a ton of pathing all across this area. So I feel like if you're getting burnt out seeing so much roadway pathing, sidewalk pathing, going through and trying to break up that monotony with some foliage is a really great option for just bringing some extra dimension to the area. I'm going through and trying to build out behind the bus stop. I would have to say this is the hardest part of building for me, is trying to figure out what the heck like goes behind a large building. I think that's another reason why I might replace the larger building that I created with something a bit smaller, just because once again I feel like I don't know what to put behind it because so much sightline is going to be taken up by the fact that it's so tall. The castle walls and things take up so much space when it comes to like what you can actually visually see, and I don't really see much point in putting something behind the castle wall, if that makes sense. But now we're moving on to this little side vignette area where I decided on a whim to make a little popcorn stand, and I love this design so much. The stall is customized using a code by 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃𝓎. I love all the stuff that 𝒷𝓊𝓃𝓃 has made for the retro island Nunuk that she had, and so I want to really go through and use some of those building designs. And this is a code that I believe matches with a little stall for Leaf. I think he has like a little plant shop or something on Nunuk, and she created these standee signs for him. So I decided to kind of like take that design and use it and kind of like, once again, bring that whimsical nature. This is more so the type of vibe that I'm trying to go for with Oak Hollow. So I want to bring more pieces like that to this entrance area, and I liked layering the yellow with the green and the red. It felt very kidcore. I loved it. But now we're moving on to this other building over here. I really like this building, but once again it takes up so much space. I don't know how I feel about it. It would be perfect on, you know, maybe like a New York themed island or an island that is a bit more dark academia once again, but this is supposed to be small town, you know what I mean? All of that stuff aside, I'm just being a silly little guy right now in my thought process for this island entrance because it is really cool. I am very proud of how everything turned out. I do like the anatomy of these buildings that I'm creating, and in this one in particular, this one definitely has a lot more of the brownstone building feel. For anyone who doesn't know, a brownstone building is a type of architectural building that you can find in cities like New York and Chicago and other larger cities in the US. And from what I understand about the architecture, something that classifies as a brownstone is obviously brownstone brick, which is the name of the building itself. And then on top of that, there's other little features like having like large windows, and usually it has a really tall stoop as well as a kind of basement area down below with stairs. So it leads to that like subterranean level. And from what I understand, don't quote me on this, but I think the reason that the stoops are so high in comparison to where the actual like building starts is because back then there was carriages and horses, and the streets would end up flooding if the rain was bad because the sewage system wasn't that great in most cities, especially big cities. And so they would raise the stoop so that way when the streets flooded, you wouldn't get nasty stuff coming into your house, because if your house was at road level, then you run the risk of some pretty nasty things ending up inside your home if it floods. But once again, don't quote me on that. I don't know. I feel like that is like some history architecture facts that I know. I know a lot of random information, so I don't know. Fact check me in the comments down below if you please. But yeah, there are lots of aspects that I like about this building. It was fun trying to puzzle piece together all these simple panels and make them look good together. I did go through and use the bunk bed method to try and make it look like there is a little bit of a balcony. I probably should have gone through and customized it so that way it's not a white bed and is instead a plank road like path. That way it looks like there's an actual, you know, floor instead of looking like a bed. So if I do keep this, I will go through and update that. But now I'm just trying to build out this front area, which I think is honestly so cute. This probably is one of my favorite parts of the entire build. I loved going through and layering the garbage can with the trash bags. That felt very city core. And then of course using the plain party lights arch. You know me, I have to use it in every single island that I create. But I went through and I have this little phone box area with a bike. I thought that was really cute. I tried to cover up the simple panel with a clothesline and then just kind of like finish off that area with a castle tower. But this is actually it for the build, I believe. This is everything. We're going to place a garden bench and then we're going to move on to the beauty shots. So without further ado, let's go take a look. Alright, my bunny besties, that is everything for today's speed build. I hope you had fun watching along and was able to get a lot of good inspiration out of today's video. No matter what type of island you're working on, whether it's an autumn themed island or something else entirely, I hope that you enjoyed, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on how everything turned out in the comments down below. I am really excited to see how this entrance ends up evolving in the future, since I will be making some changes to it, but I feel like the bones of the actual layout are something that I'm really happy with. So I know whatever we end up doing in the future, it will look just as good, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to get into doing more builds on this island. I'm really excited to start working on the suburbs. But that is everything for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time ever tuning into the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button down below, because I would love to have you join our cozy community, as well as leave a like on the video, as it's a great way to help support the channel. I do also have channel memberships. You can find a join link down below in the caption if you would like to help support the channel even further, and I will see you in the next video. Bye friends!